On the other hand, Trump is so new that for every, and this is the second point, for every blue-collar Democrat we will lose in Western PA, we will pick up 2, 3 moderate Republicans in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And you can repeat that in Ohio and Illinois and Wisconsin.
When Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer made this statement 2 years ago, everyone laughed at him. But it turns out he was right. For every blue-collar Democrat we lose, we will pick up 2 moderate Republicans. And that's exactly what we saw in the 2018 midterms. Republicans were soundly defeated in one of their worst election losses in decades. And what most pundits found was 2018 was a repudiation of Donald Trump. The Republican Party is losing voters, and it is largely because of Donald Trump. Trump has alienated numerous Republicans from the Republican Party, particularly white college-educated Republicans, moderate Republicans, business conservatives, and Republican women, and he has not made any inroads with young people or people of color, and this is costing not only Donald Trump, but the Republican Party. Former governor of Ohio and 2016 presidential candidate John Kasich explains quite bluntly the problems facing the Republican Party.
The Republican Party will die if they keep doing the things they're doing now. I mean, they have no young people, not many young people, not many women, not many minorities. You know, they don't have a great clubhouse, and so, you know, they're going to have to change, and there are more and more of them that are realizing that.
John Kasich is right. If we look back, the Republican Party wasn't always like this. In fact, many people tend to forget that Republicans used to do really well with Asian American voters. They did well with Latino voters in the past, and they used to even win Muslim Americans. And so the Republican Party used to be quite diverse, but there were numerous things that happened that kind of led to where we are today. And the first thing was that Democrats reached out to minority voters, especially in the 90s, and Bill Clinton got a lot of support from minority voters, especially Asian Americans, which had been voting Republican for the past couple decades before that. But Republicans had ample opportunities to win over these minority voters. One of these opportunities was in 2006. George W. Bush had some problems in his presidency, but he was a smart campaigner. And one thing he realized early on was the future of the Republican Party relied on the Hispanic vote. And so he realized that he needed to have more moderate tone on immigration, and that's why he formed the 2006 bipartisan immigration plan. But the problem was that many Republicans opposed the plan, and it led to a divide within the Republican Party. Many people tend to forget, but George W. Bush did fairly well with Hispanics in 2004. He won 40% of Hispanics and 44% of Asian Americans, and he even carried the state of New Mexico in his 2004 re-election bid. It is without a doubt that Hispanics played a large role in George W. Bush's re-election campaign. And so George W. Bush was very keen on getting this bipartisan immigration plan through Congress. He wanted it to pass, and one of the tenets of this plan was to grant essentially amnesty to illegal immigrants and allow them a path to legal citizenship, something that you see a lot of Democrats talk about today. And had this happened, it likely would have cemented Hispanic voters in the Republican Party for decades to come. Had this plan been enacted, George W. Bush and the Republican Party would have seen an uptick in Hispanic support, and Hispanics would have likely become strong Republican voters. Many people also don't know this, but Muslim Americans actually supported George W. Bush in the year 2000, and they actually endorsed George W. Bush. But the thing is, George W. Bush lost a lot of Muslim support after 9/11, particularly when he entered Afghanistan and Iraq during the 2003 invasions by the United States. And obviously that cost the Republican Party the Muslim vote. So they lost the Muslim vote, they lost the Hispanic vote because the Republican Party did not want to embrace more pro-immigration policies. And so the Asian American vote also slowly declined as more Democrats reached out to win over Asian Americans. And so here we are at the Republican Party today. The Republican Party today is largely made up of white voters, and even Donald Trump is alienating a lot of the white educated voters. If you look at the 2012 voter demographics, you will see that Romney did well with one particular group. He won college educated voters by 4 points against someone like Barack Obama. And he did that because Republicans were doing fairly well with white college educated voters. But Donald Trump has reversed that trend, and white college educated voters are now moving towards the Democratic Party. And so the advantage that Republicans had, that Donald Trump essentially could have held together, college graduate, white college educated voters and working class voters, but instead Donald Trump chose to abandon the white college graduates and instead embrace his base of white working class voters. And this has cost the Republican Party dearly. Just imagine what the Democratic and Republican parties would look like today had Republicans taken different steps in the past. For instance, if we were just to compare, the Democratic Party would likely be a party of white Democrats, African Americans, and around half of Asian Americans. And had Republicans early on embraced Hispanics and embraced Muslim Americans, the Republican Party would be comprised white Republicans, Hispanics, Muslim Americans, and around half of Asian Americans. And that's, thinking about that, it would mean that the Republican Party would actually be the more diverse party in American politics. But obviously that's not what happened. And if Donald Trump keeps on alienating more moderate factions in the Republican Party is going to struggle, and believe it or not, it's actually going to collapse. Former Speaker of the House John Boehner actually puts it in a very good way in this clip.
I want to talk to you about what's happened with the Republican Party.
There is no Republican Party. There's a Trump Party. The Republican Party is kind of taking a nap somewhere.
And Boehner is right. There is no Republican Party anymore. It's the Trump Party. And unfortunately for Republicans, the Trump Party is hurting Republicans and is hurting the future of the Republican Party. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you guys want me to talk about next.